What's up, guys? Third episode of the Bruce and Bryce show. There's been a lot going on since we last talked to you guys. UFC let out some banger fight cards coming up in the future. We're gonna highlight a couple of the standout fighters from the last few weeks. We'll just jump right into the Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Jailton Almeida card. That was a good card.
Absolutely, about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago. Many of you probably tuned into that for the Ian Gary fight. I know he's big amongst the more casual
Machado
fans.
Gary.
Yeah, so
the next Conor McGregor.
Yeah, Ian Machado Gary. It's the first fight where he brought Machado into the name. He got married since his last fight.
Correct, yeah.
But yeah, Daniel Rodriguez, Ian Gary. That was a cool fight. It played out kind of the way I thought it would. It was first round head kick KO. What do you think of that fight?
Gary's impressive. Still, I'm not 100% sold on him. He looks like he's got the goods. He's definitely got the personality, the charisma. He does. One thing I do like about Gary is, Bryce, he seems to have a very systematic plan and approach to his training and he said, and his building up with his level of competition. He says he wants to be a second guy in the top 15, then beat a couple guys in the top 10, and then get into the top 5. So he has a very systematic plan. It looks like he's being brought along. Sometimes we see these guys thrown into the wolves too quickly. Definitely not his approach. Student of the game. He was leaving from this fight, which he looked very good in, I thought. He was heading to Thailand to study Muay Thai, and so he's constantly looking to add to his game. I wouldn't call him definitely a future potential champion right now, but he's definitely somebody to be on the radar without a doubt.
Yeah, I think he's definitely an up-and-comer to keep a look at. He's training at American Top Team with guys like Gilbert Burns, Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Oh, absolutely. He's in with monsters, and he's doing, and I think he's obviously doing what he needs to do to progress.
Yeah, coming out of Ireland with a lot of hype around him. Ian Machado Gary, keep an eye on him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next fight, that was kind of a standout fight. Anthony Lionheart Smith versus Johnny Walker. Man, I didn't know what to expect going into this fight. What do you think of how it played out?
It kind of played out how I thought. I'm a big Johnny Walker fan. Okay. I think I always have liked Johnny. I think we're seeing some more maturity in Johnny's fighting, and personally, I think Johnny Walker's got the goods to be a champion. He's definitely got the frame. He's saying he wants to be champ. He wants a light heavyweight, then heavyweight. Maybe you're gonna have to get one strap before you worry about a second one. I think Johnny Walker is ready for another title shot, and I wouldn't be shocked that he's a champion and coming up here in the near future.
Yeah, I think we saw a lot of, I would call, maturity out of that last fight. He's a guy known to go out there, look for those crazy knockouts, kind of gas himself out because he's such an explosive athlete.
Oh, yes.
He's dangerous from everywhere. We were talking about how when guys get in on his legs, he's just able to throw those hammer fists.
Oh my gosh, punches. Yeah, they're almost, you got to be half afraid to take a leg shot on him.
Yeah, 100%. So Johnny Walker ended up winning that decision. I know Dana wasn't really too happy with how he kind of laid off the gas, but you got to do what you got to do to win a fight.
He did. He wasn't in that third period. He was not putting himself in harm's way, which is I was also slightly disappointed with. I thought he should have kept his foot on the gas a little bit. Had the fight locked up. Smith did. Anthony Smith's been a great fighter. I think he really has to go back, be with his family, and consider if he should just go to the broadcast booth full time.
Yeah, that's what he said. He didn't want to announce retirement after that fight, but I saw afterwards he came out saying, I'm not the type of guy that can walk away like this. I'd rather go in there with my shield up." And
yeah, he's definitely but that's the hardest thing for any athlete to do. They're the last ones that to be able to see or admit when they've lost it.
Yeah,
and that's what you need people close to you to say, because this isn't going out, and it's not like a tennis player who's lost it, a golfer, a baseball player. This is you're going out there and you're exchanging punches.
Yep,
It's
yep.
dangerous. You're just still mad at Anthony Smith from our bad loss in
Yeah, man,
COVID, wasn't it?
That was rough. Glover Teixeira, man, I should have never slept on you. But
yeah, we ran a 6-fight parlay, and Anthony Smith was the biggest betting favorite of the parlay, and ran the first 5 fights. And this is a story of our betting life. And then it's Anthony Smith came up and. Glover, since then we've seen how good he actually is, though.
All right, that's enough on Anthony Smith for right now. Johnny Walker, keep an eye on him. He's an exciting fighter. One of my favorites to watch. One of your favorites to watch.
Absolutely, great personality. His personality kind of reminds me a little bit of Izzy.
Yeah,
And so but I definitely he's he represents the UFC well. I'd like to see him get a crack at the title.
Yep. So let's move on to the heavyweight bout, the main event of that evening.
This dude is legit. Let me flat out tell you.
Yeah, so Jairzinho Rosenstrike versus Jailton Almeida. Man, Almeida is a tough out in that heavyweight division, coming off wins in Dana White Contender Series. He's going to be a tough out of that heavyweight division because of his grappling, his jiu-jitsu, his wrestling. Man, and I would say the heavyweight division in the UFC is booming right now.
Oh, particularly with John Jones now there, obviously. But I'm telling you what, Almeida, another guy that you got to be careful not to move too fast, but he is impressive. Of the younger heavyweights who are moving up in the rankings, easily for me the most impressive one I've seen.
Yeah, I want to see how Almeida does against some of those big heavy hitters in the heavyweight division, Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see how his wrestling does against guys like that.
You know, and his athleticism. So I would think, and I mean, when you think about somebody like Derek Lewis at this point in his career, unless Lewis would catch him, I don't even think that's a close fight personally.
I agree. And so let's move on to the next card that came up after the last time we talked to you guys. So Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill.
Mm-hmm. It was just last week was the card. Yep.
So these were two heavy hitters in the women's strawweight division.
Yeah, Hill's been fighting really well coming into this fight. Yeah.
I thought Mackenzie Dern, both of these girls showed a lot of high-level skills in this bout. So, did you have any takeaways from the Mackenzie Dern fight?
Not really. It was an okay fight. This whole card was underwhelming, frankly.
Yeah.
There was a couple, Buckley picking up a win there. What was your take on how?
Yeah, Jakeem Buckley. I really like Buckley, especially once we met some of those fighters down there. It was kind of made me even more of a fan.
Buckley's a big personality. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
I had been following him on Instagram and seen him training really hard. I didn't realize until fight week that this was his first fight at welterweight, 170 pounds.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Man, Buckley's another one of those guys. He is such an explosive and powerful athlete. He's a tough out.
Yeah, he's dangerous. He I would, and no matter who he's in there with, he's gonna be in the game. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the head kick KO, man, that was clean. So let's get into the next pay-per-view coming up. UFC 289, Amanda Nunes versus Aldana.
Next week.
Yeah, next week. This is
Actually,
in 2 weeks, guys.
2 weeks. I'm sorry. Yeah, 2 weeks from today. Is that in San Antonio? No, this one's in Canada, Vancouver.
Canada.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Okay. It'd be cool to see a card up there like that. All right. As you know, Nunes, the GOAT. She avenged her loss, and then before that just was beyond dominating. It wasn't even. I mean, it was Ronda Rousey in her heyday domination level. And I don't know. Aldana is stepped in as a replacement here. Aldana's legitimate, no doubt about it. Seeing her in person at Newark, you don't realize just how big and athletic she really is. She's fighting well. This is a tough ass though for Aldana. It's a big step up, obviously, and Nunes would have to be at her very best, and Nunes would have to have an off night, I think, for this fight to be close.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Aldana stepping in on short notice, coming up against the GOAT in the women's fighting division. That's a tough ask, but I'm interested. That fight's got my attention.
Yeah, when you see the the difference in body styles of the two.
Yeah.
You wonder can Aldana use that to her advantage or not? And it remains to be seen. Again, I don't expect a close fight here, frankly.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
So I mean, my main event of this card is the co-main event: Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush.
Anxious to see Oliveira back.
Yep.
How he looks. He's actually Dariush is the betting favorite in this.
Yeah,
right, currently.
I personally believe that's how it should be. I think Beneil Dariush is the dark horse of that 155 division. I don't know what the UFC's waiting on. He's one of those guys who has won fight after fight after fight and still hasn't seen his title shot.
Well, obviously, I think if he does pick up the win here, then he would hit the next step would be an obvious title shot.
For sure.
Oliveira, though, let's not forget until he lost that just how dominating he had been. I mean, it's you can't state it strongly enough. He was in a pound for pound discussion, frankly, and then it's quickly how it's amazing how soon we lose our opinion or our focus changes when somebody picks up a loss. All right, Frank, I don't know. I still lean Oliveira here just because he did drop the match obviously, but I'm curious to see if it's who we've seen over the last 5 fights.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how these guys grappling match up because I know Charles Oliveira is a black belt. I'm pretty sure Beneil Dariush is a black belt, but Beneil Dariush is a high-level grappler as well.
Yeah, but Oliveira's ground game
it's
gonna
be
second to none, man.
It's gonna be cool to see.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that fight. And a lot of the again is that unknown. What has Oliveira lost? Move back a step, and we've said this before, fighters can get old very quickly, and then you also lose that, when you lose that fight like he did, that kind of veil of invincibility is lost, okay? Because that does, right, you say, even high-level guys, none of these guys are scared of each other, but you have in the back of your mind, man, this guy has gone through this guy. It's kind of like when the old, Mike Tyson, okay? Mike Tyson literally won fights in his heyday before he ever got in the ring. He was so intimidated his opponent, and when that was gone, he wasn't the fighter that he previously was.
Agree. So UFC 289, the next pay-per-view. Tune into that.
I do want to mention the main event, Bryce, on the prelim there, Schnell and Dvorak. That I look forward to that fight.
Okay.
That's going to be a good fight. I think both those guys, and I think the winner of that will be taking a big step up and moving into a potential title fight with maybe one more fight.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the UFC International Fight Week card. We'll kind of just go over it. UFC 290, some of the guys fighting, maybe touch on a few, but we'll do an official breakdown closer to the event.
That'll be over the 4th of July week there in Vegas, and it's looking. They got a good card lined up. Frankly, there was a lot of talk that maybe Jones was going to fight there. That didn't come to fruition, but the card is stacked.
But, man, this main event on that card, Alexander Volkanovski, the GOAT, in my opinion, versus Yair Rodriguez. Co-main event, Brandon Moreno versus Alexandre Pantoja.
Yeah.
Robert Whittaker, Dirkus Duplessis, Julian Turner, Dan Hooker.
Hey, I like that fight.
Me too.
Yeah.
Bo Nickel, Terrence Gore.
Yep.
Tresean Gore.
Tresean Gore, correct.
Sean Brady, Jack Della Maddalena. So
Bryce is working hard on these names.
I'm working hard on them, guys.
So it's I was a school teacher for 33 years, Bryce, and I before every start of the year I would apologize to Pete with American names that I said I'm going to mispronunciate a lot of your names. So let's start with that main event, Bryce. Volkanovski, a huge betting favorite here, at currently minus 450 to plus 350. What's your take on that fight?
Man, I don't. Is Volkanovski beatable? Like what we saw against Islam Makhachev, like that. Man, that was a close fight. Nobody has been able to put competition like that to Islam.
Yes.
Man, I have nothing but good things to say about Yair as well. He's
at this weight class, though. You've asked the key question: is he actually beatable?
Yeah.
So it's right now. The easy answer would be that to say I don't think so.
Yeah, I can agree with that, but
you think about Rodriguez, man. He's a quality fighter, and he's a plus 350 betting underdog right now. So what that tells you a lot right there.
I really, as good as Volk is, I really don't see Volk running over Yair Rodriguez, though. I think this is going to be an awesome fight. I think we're going to see just how good Volk is and just how good Yair is. I think this is going to be an awesome fight to watch. I think it's a great main event.
Yeah, I think Yair is going to. I mean, he's going to be in the. My guess is it's a competitive fight until those if it gets that far, those championship rounds 4 and 5, and then I think Volk definitely takes control of it.
And then Brandon Moreno. We'll go into some of the other fights on here. Brandon Moreno.
Just touch on them quick because as closer we get closer, we'll delve into these a little bit more, and I'll release a high level parlay that definitely is going to hit this time.
Yes, sir. So Robert Whittaker, Dirkus Duplessis. I'm really excited for this fight, but I just haven't seen enough out of Dirkus Duplessis, if I'm being honest.
Sure, yeah. Whittaker's the real deal too. Yeah. So it's
I guess Duplessis came out saying he got no surgery after his last fight. He only had 50% of his lung capacity. So I guess I'm curious to see how that goes.
Okay.
But
Turner Hooker's going to be a good fight,
and
obviously we're going to Bo Nickel, the golden child of the UFC, former 3-time NCAA Division I wrestling champion for Penn State University, taking a little bit of a step up in competition. Well, I would a definite step up in competition, but just curious to see he is on the main card in Vegas at Fight Week. It's a huge opportunity for him. A lot of eyeballs will be on him.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just touch on The Ultimate Fighter. That's dropping soon. Michael Chandler, Conor McGregor.
Yeah, and then they saw some spots for that, and it always brings you back, Bryce, is that nobody can throw shade like Conor McGregor. He is the master at it, and it's his mind games are just amazing. Even though now he's not the guy that he was, he's not the champion, but he's still, he can take anybody out of their game. You despise him so much and want to get at him so badly that it messes with your game, your own fight game. So
I saw maybe December they're shooting for that fight. That's what it's kind of looking like.
Yeah, and with that said, just dropped this last week or so was the documentary on Netflix about Conor McGregor, and it's a good watch if you haven't seen it. But we both, Bryce and I, we were talking that we both kind of had the same takeaway from that, is that Conor's lost a few fights here, but if you really go back and examine those fights, I don't think he's lost it. I think he can still fight with anybody. Okay, Khabib is a whole nother ball game, but even the fights that he lost where he got, he was right in those fights and beyond competitive. So I'll be curious to see. I'm not ready right now to say that I would say Chandler's going to beat him.
Yeah, well, I was interested to see some high-level fighters such as Eddie Alvarez, who fought both guys.
Right.
He came out and was talking and saying, if Chandler doesn't wrestle, he's going to get pieced up in this fight. And
if it stays on their feet, it's it's going to be a long night for Chandler.
Yeah. So tune into the Ultimate Fighter season. I really only watched the last Ultimate Fighter with Conor McGregor. So all I know in the Ultimate Fighter is Conor McGregor. So it's cool that he's coming back.
Yeah, that show has done so much for the popularity of UFC.
Yep, 100%. So the Salt Lake City, Utah card came out. They announced Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier for the BMF belt. I thought that was pretty cool that they're bringing the BMF belt back. What do you think about that?
It's cool. Yeah, it's a good fight. I don't the BMF belt. I guess it's cool. I never really thought it was that big a deal personally. It's probably maybe for the younger crowd, me, old, set on my ways. There just should be one champion, all this stuff. But it's but it is a good fight. I think it's right now leaning Gaethje. for me personally, but it's definitely that's a. I mean, if you said draw up like 5 fights you really wanted to see, probably a lot of people would draw that fight up.
Yeah, the rematch.
Yeah, absolutely.
I gotta go the other way though. I see Dustin Poirier getting it done there, but I want to say, man, who better for the BMF belt though? Right now, man, I think these guys deserve that shot at that belt.
Absolutely. I want to see belt, no belt, whatever the BMF is. So it's a good fight, definitely, without a doubt.
Yeah, and then just as a fan of Izzy, this next fight is pretty cool to me. Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. Obviously, Izzy's only loss in the UFC is to Jan Blachowicz and Alex Pereira. His only 2 losses are to those 2 guys. Man, that's a cool fight. I think Alex
absolutely.
Pereira did that for a reason.
Yeah, that's it's a dangerous fight for both guys.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I would lean Pereira there because he's just so dangerous. It's I was surprised how Izzy handled him at the last fight.
Yeah.
Izzy did dominate that first fight for 4 rounds, and then got knocked out in the 5th. But it's but two solid guys, and one thing that I didn't like seeing here is that the Boogeyman's fighting again. I was hoping he might retire, frankly.
Well, so the Boogeyman.
Don't get me wrong, I'm a big Tony Ferguson fan, but he has not looked right for a while.
I agree, but to counteract that, I think they got the most exciting guy he could be fighting, Bobby Green. Man, this is a winnable fight for Tony Ferguson.
We'll see. I just don't know if Tony's got the goods anymore.
And then we'll just touch on this, but this is a fight on that card that I'm interested in. Paulo Costa, we all thought was fighting Khamzat Chimaev, but now he's fighting Ikram Alaskarov.
Yes,
who
we saw.
Yeah,
that's a good fight. Very impressed with Ikram, and it's he's highly thought of as very by a lot of people as one of the top young fighters for a reason.
Yeah, that's cool to see that Paulo Costa was supposed to fight Chimaev, and Ikram's only loss is Chimaev.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, and where is Chimaev? Where's Chimaev? Where are you, bro? I'm waiting for you. You're my man. I haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, Chimaev and Kamaru Usman have been doing some more chirping. It seems like they're shooting for that Conor McGregor card.
That would be nice. But Chimaev, long layoff for him. He's I'd like to see him stay a little busy, stay busier. All right.
All right, yeah, so let's just...
One other real quick,
okay,
let's not jump. A big name surfaced in it since we last talked. One Francis Ngannou was back, and he signed a PFL contract.
Yeah.
And it's curious to see what happens there, where it goes. If maybe eventually we can get lines could cross, and John Jones, Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. Francis Ngannou and John Jones kind of chirping back and forth on Twitter. But man, imagine the people who are lined up to fight Francis Ngannou now. They're guaranteed $2 million to step in that ring with him. So some of those big heavyweights are lined up.
Huge money, and it's but you never know. Ngannou once you get in Dana's doghouse, it's not easy to get out of.
I heard he's out, man. I heard Dana's not a fan.
Right.
And it was interesting to see that day that Francis said he signed with PFL and it was all over. Dana dropped the Salt Lake City card.
Yeah, Dana. Yeah, I don't know if he it climbs back in Dana's good graces.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But we kind of just wanted to touch on how big the UFC space has become.
Yeah, it's really the UFC's in a good place. A lot of great young fighters, and it's how it's viewed by all our, like we mentioned this briefly in a previous telecast, is that it's now looked at almost like top level college wrestling is the minor leagues for UFC.
Yep.
Even high level high school wrestlers, you hear these kids already talking about, I want to get into MMA. I want to, so it's the whole complexion of it's changed where people are now striving to get, it's not like an afterthought, it's the goal. I'm going to complete my wrestling career and then I'm going to segue seamlessly into an MMA career.
Yeah, I think it's really cool to see because these guys didn't really have a space like that before. There's not really money to be made in the wrestling realm.
That's why you see the greatest wrestlers whoever lived out, a la Cale Sanderson, Dan Gable, they become coaches.
Yep.
And you don't see that in other sports generally. You don't see the greatest football players. You won't see Tom Brady being a head football NFL coach. Okay,
Yeah.
there are a few exceptions. Okay, or you don't see, say, Magic Johnson being a successful NBA coach. So that kind of shows you, okay? And, who knows, if Cale Sanderson came along now, he might never become a coach. He might have become an MMA fighter.
Yeah. I think these American college wrestlers are the next big thing. Like, I think these guys were almost inspired by the Russians, like Khabib, guys like that.
Absolutely.
Who have we seen that was a super high-level college wrestler? Michael Chandler, John Jones, kind of, but
and
nobody
even those
like Bo
guys.
Nickel.
John Jones was a division he was a junior college national champ, I believe. Chandler was an All-American, but you said it. Bo Nickel is kind of the real test case here. If Bo Nickel continues to progress and hit it big, every high-level college wrestler is going to be looking to go that way.
Yeah. So I think it's awesome being a wrestler my whole life, seeing these guys step into the ring.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty cool.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna wrap it up here.
Well, I want to share. I broke out a picture here. So this is me, a much younger Bruce Weaver. With this is one Aaron Pryor. Bryce, I bet doesn't know who Aaron Pryor. Aaron Pryor was a great boxing champion. May he rest in peace. Had a trilogy fights with one Alexis Arguello. I met him up at the Boxing Hall of Fame back in probably 30 years ago. All right, so and so it was pretty cool to get to meet him. And unfortunately, Aaron Pryor struggled with addiction at one time. Bryce, after being the pound for pound guy in boxing, he ended up living on the street in Cincinnati's, boxing people in alleys for hits of crack cocaine.
Wow.
Yeah, so it shows you how far addiction can take you down. He did end up eventually getting sober, became a deacon in his church and training fighters. So a pretty cool thing to see. So one Aaron Pryor, my friends.
Yep. All right, guys. It was good being back on here. Hope you guys are looking forward to the upcoming UFC events.
Yeah, probably hit them up after the Nunez card. We'll visit that. Then look ahead to maybe touch on the Funk Master and Sugar.
Yeah, August 19th. That'll be cool.
Boston, Massachusetts.
Yes, sir.
And you're going?
Yeah, I'm going.
Okay, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll go.
Maybe.
All right. Okay. All right. Hey, have a good one. Happy Memorial.